Welcome to Releasing Trauma, a Survivor's Podcast. I am your host, Tracy Osborne. I am a survivor of emotional bullying, rape, sexual assault, domestic abuse, and grief. After losing my husband in 2019, I set off on a new adventure to help other women release their trauma and create a life they can cherish. Each week, I will feature a guest expert or survivor to share their stories, tips, wisdom, and more. The goal is so that you can take away even just the smallest nugget of information you can use in your life right now to make a change, and to remind you that you're not alone. There is life after trauma, and you can move from victim to thriver and create a life you can cherish. Hello and welcome to the show. With me this week is Tara Williamson, and she is going to share with us her story of breast cancer and how that led her to create her business, Pink Ink Tattoo. So Tara, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you. You have quite a story, and I can't wait to hear it and have you share it with our listeners.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your backstory.
So when I was 39, I was diagnosed with invasive ductal carcinoma, which is breast cancer. And I don't have any family history. I couldn't feel anything, but thankfully I had a really great primary physician that wanted to do mammograms early because I had dense breast. And so at 30, I started doing mammograms. And she wanted me to come back every 3 years. Every 2 years. But I, as a nurse of 20 years now, I don't necessarily follow what I should. And I waited every 3 years. And when I went in for my annual checkup at 39, she said, I really want you to go. You need to get your mammogram done. And I said, you know what? I do. And something inside just said, you need to go do it. So I scheduled, and that was January of 2012. And that's kind of where everything just took off. And I was diagnosed, started out sounding very traumatic and bad with a 5 centimeter with Trinlins, which are like spider legs in my armpit area. As a nurse, I knew exactly what that meant, and it wasn't good. So after 7 hours of mammograms and ultrasounds, the radiologist and my breast surgeon both could not find that, and I couldn't feel it, and that's a pretty huge tumor. So what they did find, though, was calcification. So a lot of worry kind of was alleviated, and I thought, oh, okay. So what now? And they said, we can monitor it or do a biopsy. And I said, well, we're going to do a biopsy. And we did the biopsy, and unfortunately that came back positive for cancer. So my options were lumpectomy, radiation, and tamoxifen, but I'm pretty aggressive with myself. And I knew, especially caring for breast cancer patients as a nurse, I've heard their stories, and, I've seen it. And I, just went through my nursing books and did a lot of research. I prayed about it. I talked to my family and friends, and I just knew what mentally, physically, and everything that would be the right path for me was to be aggressive and do a bilateral mastectomy. And my breast surgeon, sadly, was not on that same page, and she kind of fought me for quite some time. And during this whole process of fighting with her about the bilateral mastectomy, my father became ill, and I had to go be with him. And sadly, he passed away. So during this whole breast cancer, trauma, my dad also died unexpectedly. And she knew that was happening, and she called me and said, come on, I've got you scheduled for a lumpectomy. Let's just get it out of you, and then we'll talk about the bilateral. And at this point, I just felt like I didn't have a voice over my own body, my own choices. And I moved forward with the lumpectomy, which came back even worse. And now it was invasive ductal. So it had already broke free within those few weeks of waiting and was invasive. And I think that's when my voice came back, and I just said, nobody's going to stand up for you if you don't stand up for yourself. Like, you have to be your best advocate. So I went back to her for my 1 week post-op, and I said, you know what, if you can't support me in my decision, I've done the research, I've done the soul searching. I know how traumatic this can be physically, mentally, and I'm prepared for it. Like, you have to support me or I got to go. I have to find a doctor that will listen to me. And she did a complete turnaround. And then we scheduled for the bilateral mastectomy, which was May 29, 2012. That included expanders, and that they fill up over every few weeks. And then I knew from the beginning I wanted to do nipple reconstruction, where the plastic surgeon creates a little nipple. And I thought that was going to be it. So December of, right before Christmas, December 20th of 2012, we did the exchange, putting the permanent implants in. And then we scheduled for the nipple reconstruction. So after that was done, I had fat grafting and nipple reconstruction. My doctor said, my amazing plastic surgeon was telling me about areola tattooing. And I literally almost fell off the table. I could not believe this was an option. I was so blown away. I said, oh my God, who's this expert? I have to meet them. How amazing. I can't believe somebody's here in this country helping us get back to normal. And he said, well, sadly, Tara, I don't know who an expert is, but I know that, we can offer it here, and let's just keep looking. And I thought, oh my God, like, why is this not being done? It's 2013. This is America. Certainly somebody has been affected that wants nipples back. And we searched and searched, couldn't find anybody but a couple traditional tattoo artists, which, bless them, they did amazing work. And, it was great, but it was in a tattoo shop. And I'm not intimidated by that. I have tattoos, but it just wasn't like, this was different and it was special, and I wanted it to be special. So I ended up having the nurse in the office do it. She'd been trained 3 times. Her work, looked acceptable. So I did it. And, the weekend prior to my appointment, my girlfriends and I had gotten together, and we did, we had a wine party, and they were like, okay, Terry, we have a surprise. And they rolled out all this lipstick and blush and said, what color are you going to choose? And I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, God gave me my first and I can choose, all right. So I don't know. So we picked out colors and we laughed, and it was light and exciting. And then Monday came and I went for my appointment, and that just was not the case. I was offered, 3 colors: chocolate brown, bubblegum pink, and nude. And I literally just was so floored. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, can we mix them? And she was like, no, this is, what you get. And she started tattooing with her music playing. And, it was kind of just another procedure. And the pain was so intense. And I said, can we use lidocaine? Can we use anything? And she said, no, no, traditional tattoo artists, Tara, don't use lidocaine. We'll be done. It'll be quick. And I'm like, this is so horrible. I might have to get up. And I literally almost got up with half a nipple and left because I could not take it. And I'm pretty strong with pain. So I'm not kidding when I said it was like fire. And she said, you shouldn't have any pain. Like, all your nerves are cut. You shouldn't feel anything. And I'm like, well, I do. I am. And I bared it, and we did it. And then I left. And as I was walking through the hallway to check out, I just remember something coming over me that said, like, this is unacceptable. You have to do this. You're going to do this. And when I walked through those doors, my plastic surgeon was standing there, and he said, so what do you think? And I said, that's unacceptable. Like, I'm going to go train with the best in the world, and I'm coming back and doing this because we deserve the best. And he said, do it, Tara. And, I did my research, and I found the one that was right for me. And, and this is in 2014, and I founded Pink Ink Tattoo. And I went to him and I said, hey, I've got something to tell you. And he said, can you be here at 1? And I said, sure. So I showed up, and I had my portfolio, and I tattooed 4 women in New Jersey, and I was already rocking and rolling, ready to go and on a mission. And he looked at my work and he said, "Oh my God, Tara, like this is my office. You get in here and you help women." And that was 7 years ago. I'm still there, thankfully. And I see women from all over the world fly in. I travel across my state, going to many wonderful plastic surgeons' offices and across Mississippi, Texas, and, just helping survivors feel whole again and giving back that confidence that we once had, and to some people it might not be significant, but to us that have been affected, and it is an important part of healing. I'm honored to be able to give that specialized areola 3D nipple tattoo. And, that's what led me from my nursing career of 20 years to start Pink Ink. So it affected me professionally and personally. So it's not just a job, it's a complete passion that I'm so honored to be able to offer.
Wow, that's quite a story and quite an amazing gift that you give to other survivors. I so far, luckily, knock on wood, have been lucky enough that I, haven't experienced this, and hopefully I never do.
Hopefully never will.
So I can't quite imagine what it's like to have to go through having your breasts removed and having them reconstructed. I mean, even though you're a nurse and you knew what to expect, how did that really impact you emotionally?
At the time, you just want to live. You don't know how severe, if it's metastasized, what's going on. You're used to being the caregiver, not the patient. So everything was just spinning. And to deal with my dad on top of it, I just felt like I was losing my mind. And so for me, it was just about get the breast off. They're toxic. I don't want to die. I want to live. And, it's not my brain. It's not my liver. It's boobs. Let's go. And, and people, of course, were like, no, save the breast. Even my breast surgeon, who's a conservative breast surgeon, was, there's no need to remove a perfectly healthy one. Your left breast is healthy. And I'm like, to me, I felt like they're trying to kill me. Now, after all that's over, then and this is so common, it's about a year later when you're finished pretty much with everything. I mean, I had 7 surgeries in 14 months. When all that was done, then it all hits you. And then it's like, wow, I can't believe I went through that. And then you look at yourself and you're like, I can't believe and I had an amazing plastic surgeon and he put me back together so beautifully, but it's still, it's not who I was for 39 years. So it's getting to know and love your new body. It's a huge, change and shift and how you got to think of yourself. And a lot of young girls that are, young women that are diagnosed, they call them boobs for fake boobs.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, and I get it, and that's how they deal with it. And I respect that. But for me, I can't do that. Like, I have to accept, like, this is my new body and they're my boobs. Like, until I got the tattooing done, I would show my friends and family and everybody. And I felt like kind of like a mannequin. And my doctor put me back together so that I didn't feel connected to him. But as soon as I got that last final touch, it was like, wait a minute, a little modesty came back. And then I said, I have to learn to love my new self. And so I never refer to them as fake boobs or my boobs. I just refer to them as they're my breath. Like these are my boobs. And I think mentally it just helps you learn how to deal with, to accept it, because this is the new normal now.
Wow, and I'm looking at your work on your website, and for those of you listening, her website is pinkinktattoo.com, and I'm checking out your work, and you can't tell that those are tattoos.
It's amazing.
I mean, if you show me a picture of just the after without the before, I would be like, yeah, those are boobs, and you can't tell that those are tattoos. It's amazing.
I've had survivors call me, and we're still close. It's a sister brotherhood. I mean, we're all in it together. And so they'll call me and they'll say, Tara, I just had to go get an ultrasound, or I had to go get this done and my physical. And the doctor was like, no, those aren't tattoos. And they're like, yeah, it really is. It's a tattoo. And they're like, do you mind? Can I touch it?
Can I touch it?
Yeah, they're like, sure. And so to hear that feedback it makes my heart just skip with joy because, I know the positive impact that areola tattooing can have on someone. And,
Sure.
there's a lot of even doctors and other survivors that are like, why do it? Why go through another procedure? Why do it? And you can see on that website, that's why, because it makes you feel when you get out of that shower and look in the mirror, it makes you feel like, whole again. You don't stop and think, oh, look at the scars. Look at all this. Look at that. I had
Right.
cancer. Now you just get out and you're like, oh, or you put your shirt on, you're like, don't want to have a nip slip. So that's kind of, you didn't have that for a year or two, or sometimes many years for some women.
Right.
So that's kind of back to normal.
As normal as can be, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. What an amazing journey. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us. And thank you so much for the work that you do for women. I can't even begin to imagine how important this is to a survivor to get back some of that sense of normalcy and wholeness again.
Well, I really appreciate it. And, just a small sidebar.
Sure.
When I started this, of course, my number one focus is breast cancer survivors, men, women. We all need to feel comfortable in our own skin. And then it has just expanded to transgender and women who've had augmentations or males that have had, fat removed and the areola is now scarred or lost pigment, vitiligo. And I didn't realize how many people are just affected by conditions or loss of pigment or surgeries that affect that area. And to have some sense of that normalcy back, to be able to look at yourself or feel comfortable having somebody else look at them, it's such an honor to be able to provide that. So
that is incredible. Absolutely. Wow. Excuse me. Well, thank you again for coming on and sharing your story with us. I'm glad that everything is okay. You're fine now. You're healthy.
Fine and healthy. Thank goodness. Thank the Lord.
Fabulous.
So I try to stay proactive and, share about it, because even today in 2021, a lot of people haven't even heard of areola tattooing, which is crazy.
Sure. You would think it would be more well known or more done.
Absolutely.
I've seen the pictures of those who don't get reconstructive surgery where they have like beautiful floral tattoos over their chest,
right,
or almost to look like a tank top, and those look gorgeous.
And and that's the thing, I'm an option for women and men that want to have this done. And I know nowadays there's so many people offering this service. I just, whenever I'm asked if I don't come to your state and you can't travel to me, I just tell everyone, do your research on that artist and find out where that ink's coming from. Like, my ink is made in the USA. It's MRI safe. If we need to have scans in the future, it's formulated for breast cancer survivors. So it's made with the best ingredients. And, that's just things that need to be researched and done, because the last thing you'd want is an infection in that area.
Absolutely. Now, you're in North Carolina, correct?
I am. I'm based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and I travel across North Carolina, Mississippi, and Texas.
Okay. Awesome. Again, her website, for those listening that want more information, is pinkinktattoo.com. Is this something that insurance covers, or is it considered cosmetic?
Well, the beautiful thing is it is covered by insurance. At least with me it is, because I have an insurance number and I'm in that system, being a medical professional, and I provide the service only in a medical office. So that's awesome. They get a receipt and they submit it to their insurance company for reimbursement. Now, sometimes it'll go to their deductible if they haven't met it yet, but that's something that definitely needs to be covered for sure, which was a big concern for me. Like, we've already paid enough for insurance every month. This is something that completes that reconstruction process.
Right. Not only paid enough financially, but physically and emotionally as well.
Absolutely.
So fantastic. All right. Well, thank you again. And listeners, thank you so much for joining us. Definitely check out Tara's work. If you know anybody who is a breast cancer survivor that could use this work, have them get in touch with her, or look in somebody, for somebody in their state. And again, we'll, thank you, and we'll talk to you next week on the show.
Thank you so much.